Good evening and welcome to the November 16, 2020 Eugene City Council public hearing. Thank you for joining us in this remote meeting format we're using in response to Governor Brown's Stay Home, Save Lives order. This format enables us to meet, hear from the community, and take care of business while keeping everyone safe. Anyone wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed for this meeting on the public webcast and meeting materials webpage. If you join the meeting via computer, device, or phone, your microphone, webcam, and phone are automatically muted when you enter the meeting as an attendee. There is one public hearing on tonight's agenda. For those wishing to testify at this public hearing, please wait to raise your virtual hand until I announce that it is time to do so in my introductory remarks. Requests will be accepted until the first person to testify begins speaking. And in a recent process session, the counselors and I agreed that one of the biggest drawbacks to meeting in a virtual format is the disconnect we feel when face-to-face testimony isn't possible. So in an effort to improve on this situation, we are going to try out a new process tonight that enables those who wish to connect via audio and video will be able to do so. As each speaker's turn is announced, the meeting moderator will temporarily promote you to a panelist status, and you can unmute and turn on your video if you wish. Please be aware that there may be a slightly longer transition between speakers as the moderator works behind the scenes to make all this happen, and this is the first time we've tried it, so there's always a learning curve. Also, I encourage everyone to use this new increased access in a responsible way. Our intent is simply to be able to see each other's faces as testimony is given. Any misuse of the platform or inappropriate sharing will result in an immediate termination of speaking privilege. And finally, if there is testimony you are not able to provide or wish to get to us in a different manner, please feel free to contact any one of us individually or together via email or voicemail. And with that, I will open the public hearing on an ordinance adopting an amended urban renewal plan for the downtown urban renewal district. For those wishing to testify, please raise your virtual hand to join the speaker's queue in one of two ways. For those viewing the meeting on a computer, laptop, or other device, click once on the blue hand icon. For those listening to the meeting on a phone, press *9. As I said before, requests will be accepted until the first person to testify begins speaking. The meeting moderator will unraise or disallow any requests to speak that are made after the deadline. When the hearing begins, our meeting moderator will announce two speakers' names at a time. When it is your turn, the moderator will announce your name and promote you to panelist status. You will have 3 minutes to speak. And now with that, I will turn to the city manager to introduce the topic.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate it. We don't always do a brief presentation before your public hearings, but based on some of the things I was starting to hear at the end of last week and today, I thought it would be good for Will to give us just a really high level update on how we got to where we are with today's public hearing. So I'm just going to ask Will to jump in and then we'll get started.
Thank you. The amendment process was initiated on June 22nd when Council, acting as the agency board, passed a unanimous motion to begin the process to amend the Downtown Urban Renewal Plan to amend or remove the cap on agency funds that may be used on the Farmers Market project. The 2016 Downtown Urban Renewal Amendment resulted in a spending cap of $4.5 million on tax increment funds for improvements to the Farmers Market. Council prescribed a process for each project in the plan, including public engagement, scope, and budget refinement, a presentation to Council, and a public hearing. After extensive community and stakeholder visioning from the Farmers Market project and feedback coupled with technical analysis, the design selected by Council in July includes a covered enclosed pavilion adjacent to a new outdoor plaza. I should say an old outdoor plaza because it's really the recovery of that original Northwest Park block. This design will allow the Lane County Farmers Market to operate year-round and expand the number of vendors who can sell at the biweekly market. The estimate for urban renewal funds, including the purchase of property that occurred in 2019, is $9.8 million. The required urban renewal process concluded with a public hearing on July 20th and subsequent action by the agency board on July 27th, which unanimously approved the farmers market full project designs, the plaza and the pavilion, and the use of tax increment funding, with the understanding that in order to fully fund the project with urban renewal funds, the plan must be amended to remove the $4.5 million spending cap for the project, which is why we're here tonight. This public hearing is focused on the plan amendment. To be clear, this plan amendment does not increase the total spending of the district. It does not change the boundaries of the district, nor does it change the projects listed in the plan. Removal of the cap would make it possible for the agency board to utilize tax increment funds and proceed in line with the agency board's July decision. The council is scheduled to review comments from the public, the planning commission, and taxing districts next Monday, at which point action is also possible or could be available on December 14th, which is also scheduled for you. In 2016, the council chose the middle option of $4.5 million, which was described as enough money to fund either the purchase, demolition, and construction of the plaza, but not the pavilion, or the plaza and pavilion on a ready-to-go site. A complete project was estimated at that time at $7 million. Since March of 2016, Oregon has seen a significant rate of year-over-year escalation and quarter-over-quarter escalation. When we launched our public engagement initiative in 2019, at our July event, we shared our first estimates for the farmers market project. We estimated the range of costs would be from $6 to $9.8 million. And then as we wrapped up the year and we shared our final concept plan with council, we noted that if council wanted us to move forward with a full project that involved the plaza and the design, that would be up to $12 million for the farmers market. We've kept this number and this scope of plaza and pavilion at the forefront of all of the communication we've done, as we've given you multiple updates, both in the time before COVID and in the multiple meetings we've had with you since. It's also something that we've been carefully communicating to stakeholders as we have our emails and other public meetings. So that brings us to this point where we are here for the option to remove the spending cap so that we could move forward with the plan as presented in July. And that's what we're here to hear from community members about. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that recap that was helpful to remind everyone. I now open the public hearing and we'll turn to the moderator to call on the speakers.
Okay, we have 3 speakers tonight. First will be Geneva Ralph, followed by John Borofsky.
Well, good evening, everybody. I think I made it in. Thank you for this opportunity. It's really great to see you all. I wish I could be there. I would like to comment as a former member of the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee to share a few concerns about increasing this proposed spending cap up to over 9 million or unlimited. It sounds like, first, I am concerned about how this proposal has been articulated to the community in terms of the size. Other than when Mr. Berman and Mr. Dowdy presented to the Lane Council of Governments weekly meeting last week, none of the public announcements that I've been able to find this last week for this agenda topic has indicated that size of this increase. And I'm not sure how the general public would have learned what these plans are. Now, that notwithstanding, from my understanding of the intention of urban renewal funding, the size and scope of this increase is significantly disproportionate to other projects and to their proposed funding support. I'm also not convinced, especially with this magnitude, that this project can possibly generate the desired ripple effect of increasing downtown tangential commercial activity. It removes a very large portion of already scarce parking inventory downtown with no plans, Mr. Dowdy said, to replace or even to deal with increased parking demands that presumably will be generated by the increased activity. I haven't been able to find a business plan or marketing analysis that's been presented to underpin the hoped for rental use of the pavilion on the 5 days of the week when the farmers market isn't occupying it. And it hasn't been clear to me what HVAC public restroom and support structures contained there will exist to support other rentals. Additionally, as you know, city facilities typically carry very high rental rates. And so I think that that needs to be part of that equation, because I really wonder if there are truly other large number of entities going to use what will be a fairly expensive restructuring of that block. So as beloved as Farmers Market and Saturday Market are to me, my kids ran Hay Bales Farm there on that block 20 years. These costs demand pause and further detailing, I think, as to what is actually being accomplished through the application of these scarce urban renewal funds. And I just request that you sort of broaden that discussion and get a little bit more community input from how it could possibly be used in the future. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you, Ginevra. Next is John Borofsky, followed by Jack Richardson.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor and agency directors. My name is John Borofsky and I reside in Ward 3. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening on the proposed plan amendment to the Downtown Urban Renewal Agency. While I believe that the removing of the spending cap for the farmers market will help bring to fruition one of the city's long-standing visions of a new and vibrant farmers market, I believe that the proposed amendment should be adopted. I do feel there are some points that should also be brought to your attention. When the plan was amended in 2016, there were several projects proposed. Fiber optic for downtown, park blocks and open space, the farmers market, and the 1059 Willamette building. Each of these had a spending cap associated with them. The farmers market had a cap of $4.5 million. The price for this project has swelled to well over $12 million, thus reducing the available amount for the other worthy projects. This is a perfect example of what has been brought up many times at your table. The fact that any future council can choose to disregard the direction of a previous council's action. Moving forward, I hope that you will consider using the maximum amount of the remaining funds for the 1059 Willamette project. As we all know, housing, and especially housing downtown, is a critical need today. So I hope that you will think about reallocating the $400,000 that is set aside for open spaces to the housing project, as there are many sources of funds for open space, but the types of funds to help build workforce housing are very limited. Lastly, the budget geek in me would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that over the remaining time of the plan, over $1.8 million will be spent on administrative costs. That's almost 10% of the $19 million of the 2016 plan amendment. Thanks for your consideration and dedication to helping to achieve the vision for a vibrant downtown. And thanks for the opportunity to do this face-to-face, as it were. And I think that Jeffrey Toobin's going to be the next speaker.
Thank you, John. So the name that I have for next is Jack Richardson. Jack, are you there? Okay, he doesn't appear to have any audio or video, so it looks like, oh, hold on, that might be coming back. Jack, are you there? Let's just give him a moment.
Yeah, I'm here, if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I apologize. I guess my video is slow to load here. I was just patiently waiting here. Yeah, good evening, council members, mayor, city manager. My name's Jack Richardson. I'm a farmer from up in McKenzie, and for over 10 years, we have been making the trek into Eugene each week to peddle our veggies at the Lane County Farmers Market. So I'm representing a perspective of a local farmer. I also serve on the Farmers Market Board. I wanted to voice an appreciation for the city's continued support for the Town Square project and the inclusion of the market's voice in this process. I realize that 2020 has been a real heap of manure kind of year. And for many businesses, including ours, it's had a lot of challenges. The farmers market has been a bright spot for us, though. And even though it's felt a little different this year, it has continued to draw people from the city, from around the area. And each week, people seem to come out and purchase local, delicious, and healthy food without fail. While the market is certainly not the highest priority for the city during these challenging times, you have continued to show strong support for the market amid all the manure that we've had to wade through this year. So thank you. This new site and indoor vetting area that your team has been developing is going to be an incredible addition to the current site that we all see as the home of the farmers market. The increased space will allow us to create as much or a much less crowded customer experience while also including more vendors than we've had space for with the current layout. This fall, the farmers market has made the decision to keep the market going outdoors through December. That'll be interesting. I'm excited to see how this goes. Excited to see how this goes. I expect that the Oregon skies will undoubtedly drop some rain on our parade. An indoor vending space would allow us to continue to anchor our market in the same location year round with a little more comfort for the shoppers and the farmers. Yeah, I think this market continues to bring people from the Eugene and surrounding areas, and brings the bounty from the rural areas to the heart of their city. I know there are many strains in the city in good times, but especially during a pandemic. And while I don't pretend to know the half of it, I appreciate you all listening to the thoughts of a humble farmer. And yeah, thank you. Go eat some great fall carrots. They're fresh out of the ground. And have a good night.
Thank you, Jack. And thank you to everyone who participated in the public hearing by giving testimony. And that concludes the testimony for tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who has just taken the time to testify. It was really great to actually have the video there and be able to see your faces. So bravo team for making that happen for all of us. I look forward to future forums. And I see that, so I'm, I guess, officially closing the hearing, but opening the floor for counselors to ask questions or comment. And I see Counselor Syrett is first in line. So I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you, staff. Really appreciate trying to the test of letting us see folks in spite of John Borofsky's inappropriate Jeffrey Toobin reference. And that it's great. It's much, much better to be able to see people. So thanks for that. And thank you, Will, for the briefing on where we've been. And, you know, while I understand that there's always going to be folks who get caught by surprise by things that have been on our agenda, I mean, I feel like we have talked about these projects a lot and have had several work sessions that I think were very informative. And so I really don't feel like we've done anything, you know, kind of in the background that's not really been in the forefront. It's been a few months maybe since we discussed the topic, and in times of COVID, time has, you know, a weird stretching and collapsing effect. So it's hard to sometimes gauge how long ago something was. So And then the concern about removing parking, you know, one of our goals is to get people to take alternative forms of transportation. So personally, I don't have a problem with taking out some parking downtown. We've got a bike share program. We're going to be piloting a scooter share program. We've got a transit station not very far away. So I feel there are a lot of alternatives to get down to the farmers market besides driving one's car right to the market. And I say that as someone who, if I'm still serving when there's a city hall there, is gonna have to figure out how to get there without driving my own car. So I appreciate John Borowski's testimony as always, giving us some perspective, reminding us of some of the things that we may have lost sight of. I think we are looking at a lot of ways to support the LCC project. So I'm not sure we would need to take the 400,000 for the open space to do that, but I know many councilors have prioritized that project pretty highly, so that's still a conversation. And really appreciate Jack Richardson signing on. And if he's a Mackenzie farmer who's currently up the Mackenzie right now, this format actually saved him from having to drive all the way into town to give us that testimony. So that's one small benefit of us having to meet in this format, is that it is more accessible to folks who are impacted by the decisions we're making, but might not be nearby in Eugene. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other counselors who wish to make a comment? It looks like Councilors will do.
When we come back, can staff bring back a list of all the public meetings that we've had on this at the council and all the public involvement processes that we've had about the farmers market, as well as all the times we've discussed how much this project costs, and present that at the next meeting? That would be very much appreciated. I think it goes back many, many months. Starting of this process goes back years, actually. So I would like to see that at the next meeting if we could. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councilor Taylor.
Thank you. It was really great to see people's faces. It's not as good as having them here in person, however. And I think as for people saying that they haven't heard about it, I understand that. I think everyone is in a state of not caring about day-to-day things right now because they care more about, well, I think we're all, if I can speak for myself and people I know, we're all in a state of discomfort because our lives are turned upside down. And maybe looking at government isn't what we're doing unless we're involved in it, because there's so much, all the things that have gone away that used to be here. And the people who say they don't have any social life anymore, there's no theater, there's no symphony, there's no city club in person, and there's so many things. And now the athletic clubs have to close. And I think that we can't blame people for not being aware of what's going on with the city right now. And I do think that we should consider everyone's opinion. If they think we're spending too much money on something, we should look at it. I continue to think that we need a homeless shelter. That's where we need to spend some money. But I did write to the city manager to ask if she has considered the new state money that's going to be available. And I saw that in the Register Guard. I don't know whether I saw it, whether it's true or not, but it sounded as if there's going to be a lot of money available for homeless shelters. And it is a big need, as came up in our previous meeting. As Greg brought up, as Councilor Evans brought up, there are a lot of complaints about people camping in inappropriate places, and they don't have any other place to go. And anyway, congratulations on letting us see their faces. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Pryor.
Surprised me. I forgot Claire's in the second round. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that both Councilor Syret and I were at the Human Services Commission meeting today, received a presentation on homeless bed capacity. What is our homeless capacity in Eugene? And it was a presentation by Lane County, Lisa Stewart, who compiles enormous amounts of data with regard to the numbers of homeless folks, the kind of homeless folks that are in that we have been tracking and they're in the system that we're aware of, and then the beds available, particularly beds that are available that have been accommodated for the COVID-19. In other words, they're socially distanced, they're spread out. What capacity do we have within the COVID environment? And one, the number of actual homeless folks in our system this year is less than the number last year. So we're dealing with not a huge number less, but at least we're dealing with fewer homeless folks this year than we did last year. The other thing is, in terms of the number of people utilizing beds versus the number of beds available in nearly all categories, singles, families, women, there are beds available. In other words, if you want a shelter bed in Eugene, there is one available. Yeah, and all you have to do is go and take advantage of it. And so I think the notion that we need to create more shelter beds at the present time is not as critical a need, because we actually have empty beds right now. The same is true with the warming shelters. So far, the Egan warming shelter has only been open for a couple of nights, and we have the statistic on the first night, and it also was not utilized to capacity. There was a lot of questions at the meeting in terms of why do we have so many beds? Why aren't people taking advantage of it? There's any number of guesses as to why people are not taking advantage of shelter beds that are available. We want to try to do some more outreach to figure out why people aren't taking advantage of it. But adding more shelter beds doesn't seem to be the solution right now. It's getting people to utilize the beds that we already have and that are already there. So it's an interesting challenge. It's just information we received today that I'm sharing with you because you may not be aware that we actually have excess capacity in our shelters.
Thank you. Greg? Oh, Councilor Evans, sorry.
Well, either way, just as long as you don't call me something else. Sarah, can you, I'm going back to Geneva Ralph's testimony on this. Can you talk a little bit about the overall plans for the downtown urban renewal district and the utilization of those funds in phases to address the projects that we have planned for that district? You know, and kind of what the time frame is, because we know that every day inflation is hitting the cost of constructing anything. But you know, I think that folks really need to know kind of what the you know, big picture is in terms of the outline for what we're going to be doing with that space.
Sure. I think we can talk about this in probably a lot more detail next Monday. We have a work session to go over what we've heard tonight and answer those questions. I would say, just specific to the park blocks, you know, we've been projecting for, I think, over a year that project in total would be somewhere in the $23 to $25 million range, and that we had, you know, and we've kind of consistently shown a graph that says, here's the amount of funds we have, and here's what we would need to do the full project. And at some point, we'll need council to determine whether you want to insert new revenue sources in there. And as you know, we've been pursuing grants as well, or we would have to scale those projects back. And so earlier this year, before you went on your break, we rediscussed that, and what you decided was, let's scale it back in terms of phases. And so we'll go, you know, sort of all in on that fourth park block and some of the right-of-way improvements, but do less, sort of a lighter touch on the others until there was a time where you could generate that revenue source. And you determined not to increase the overall sort of urban renewal plan. So I think we can come back on Monday with more details about the whole big plan and where we're at with all those different projects. But I think in this particular one, you know, where we're at is sort of a phased approach. That may not have answered your question.
Are you good with that, Councilor Evans?
Oh, yes, for the time being, but I just wanted to the public that's watching in to get a better sense of how we are progressing with each one of those projects and what we're going to do. Because I already know we have to do this in a phased manner, and perhaps to raise the urban renewal cap, you know, to be able to fund some of this, the things that we have planned. But you know, we need to let people know that you know, the city government hasn't stopped and gone into limbo because of COVID. That we're still on the same path to invest in these projects, to get them started and eventually completed.
Yeah, so if you're on the call tonight, we'll be back on Monday, and I believe it's at the 5:30 work session. I'm going to look that really quick. Yep, Monday the 23rd, the 5:30 work session, we'll be back on this topic, and we'll have those answers for you.
Thank you. Councilor Sarrett.
Thank you. Well, first I want to say I wasn't trying to dismiss the public comment about people not being aware of the projects. I mean, I understand that that happens, but I was just trying to point out that we have had a number of work sessions and strong public engagement as we've gone through this. So I don't feel we've been remiss in that aspect. And then Mr. Richardson from the Farmers Market Board made a comment along the lines of he recognizes that this market isn't our most important project, but I would actually say from my perspective, it's a very important project. And I think that's why this council has supported it so strongly. It's part of preparing for our post-COVID future and bringing to fruition, you know, a long-held vision for the market. And you know, as he pointed out, it will allow more people to actually sell there and shop there in a less crowded format. The current conditions of the current farmers market discourage, I know individuals who are discouraged by going down there because of how crowded it is. And people, especially who might have mobility challenges, find it hard to navigate our current farmers market. And so having one that's more accessible to more people is going to be a great improvement and generate more economic activity downtown overall, I believe.
Yes, thank you. And anyone else needing to make a comment who hasn't had a chance? I think with that, we will be returning to this topic next week. And so there'll be more time to consider what you've heard and appreciate everyone's contributions tonight. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.